accountability and transparency in the country. And to discuss this with us this morning, we've got on my left-hand side a friend of the house who's not been around for a bit, according to what we're just talking about, Dr. Abiodun Adedipe, financial expert. And also on the right-hand side is Mr. Jide Johnson, who's the head of department, mass communication at the Nigeria Institute of Journalism. Thanks for coming this morning. Now, let me start with you, Dr. Adedipe. I know you've spoken several times on the issue of transparency, accountability, the way we manage our fiscal and monetary policies and so on. You're an expert in this area. How would you rate Nigeria at this very critical point in time in terms of accountability and transparency?
Well, I will take it from a perspective of what the central bank is doing recently. And I say that deliberately. That if we look at it from that perspective, we are now making steps or taking steps in the right direction. And that is deliberate, as I said. Now, if you look at sections 36 and 40 of the Central Bank of Nigeria Act, section 36 says that central bank will be in charge of the revenues and expenditure of the federal government of Nigeria. Then section 40 also says the central bank is empowered to actually disclose appropriately and consistently. Those are the two words in that section 40 of the CBN Act. Appropriately and consistently. So in which case, if you look at central bank as an agent of the federal government of Nigeria, it has every responsibility to do what it is doing. First and foremost, it is in the purview of what comes in and what goes out. So as banker to the government, therefore, I will want to see what central bank says as a reflection of the true situation of things. And that is because there are three roles here when we talk about accountability. Now there is an agency that generates revenue, okay, and of course in the process incurs expenses, ultimately comes up with a surplus, which the Fiscal Responsibility Act also states what should be brought in to the coffers of the government, okay. Now, ideally, all this information should be made available to the public. If we go by the section 2 of the Fiscal Responsibility Act that empowers that commission to do that, or in fact compel any person or institution to make such information available to the general public.
In fact, from what you have just said, I mean, I would say that the central bank has not even done that as much as Nigerians would want.
Indeed.
So what do you say to what we just heard Dr. Ibrahim, the general manager in charge of NNPC's corporate affairs, saying that they don't have an obligation to disclose any audited account of NNPC?
They certainly do. They certainly do. What is happening here is that the agency of government that is supposed to ensure that is actually not playing its role. And that is the Fiscal Responsibility Commission. And this is clearly stated in its Act, Section 2, that it has a responsibility to compel them to disclose to the general public. So if it is not doing that, you now revert to the power the law makes available to the central bank governor as an agent of the federal government. In fact, it says in that section, federal, state, and local government. So when you are an agent, that means you are keeping the account of this government
on behalf of,
and therefore to that extent you have a very clear and complete view of what is happening.